Welcome at Pizza and More. Would you like to have your own sourdough or your own Lievito Madre, but you are afraid of it? Well, this is not that complicated as you may think. I'm Jürgen and we make this time together our own Lievito Madre or sourdough. There are several different ways how to get to a sourdough. One way is to buy a dried sourdough, which is in a package. You have to put some water and then you can improve it as well. There is the possibility to get someone from a friend or from some family member who has already a sourdough, or like we do it now, we make our own. For sourdough there are some different names available. One might be starter, the other one is only yeast, the other one is Lievito Madre, the other one is sourdough, but everything general said is sourdough. The two main things or the two main reasons why we use sourdough in our normal dough is, the first, we want to improve our aroma of our dough, and the second thing is we might want to replace the yeast in the dough. However, there is the possibility to use yeast together with sourdough, to combine both, and this is then done when we want to reduce the acid in our dough. Everything starts for a sourdough with breeding it, which means we have to make it, we have to produce it. The whole procedure will take around 1 week, but after this, if we have our sourdough prepared, it will last for the rest of the life. It could be used every time. Okay, it's important to feed it always with flour, and then the sourdough will last until the end of the life. And what are the ingredients, or what are the things we need to produce our sourdough? The first thing is, of course, flour. The other thing is some juice. It could be apple juice, it could be orange juice. In my case, I have now orange juice. It could be which juice ever you like. And this is good because there are some microorganisms and such things in this juice which helps to start with the sourdough production. And what I have here as well is some warm water. And of course we need a container or a glass, a bit a higher one, which we need for breeding our sourdough. The best flour for the start is rye flour, so wholemeal rye flour. This is the best to use because there are the most microorganisms in and the most natural yeast or wild yeast what we need to create our sourdough. And here you can see what I showed you already. Here I have 100 grams of rye wholemeal flour. I have 30 grams of orange juice. As I said, you can use which juice ever you like. You can also use apple juice or whatever. Then I have here 70 grams of water. And then you see the hydration of the sourdough is 100%. So we have the same amount of liquid as the same amount of flour. And then we mix everything up. And then when everything is nice mixed up, don't wonder, the structure of this dough now is totally different than you may be used from a normal wheat flour, because the rye has absolutely no gluten or almost no gluten, which means it's not a nice dough to work with. We take this dough and put it into our glass or container, and then we push it to the bottom. And then we close it but we don't close it totally. So you see here this glass, I have no gummi in this glass. I let it a bit open because it needs to breathe, but we need a gummi here to mark the top of our dough, because this is important to know where the dough is right now. We place this glass now at room temperature. Better it is to have somewhere a temperature of around 30 degrees. Because if we have that 30 degrees there, it's easier to activate our wild yeast and our microorganisms, and especially the good microorganisms, what we want that our sourdough raises. As I said, we place this now at a warm place. There is the possibility maybe to place it on your Wi-Fi router, because this produces also heat, or you put it into a cooling box, but without cooling. You can place there a bottle with hot water or whatever, so that the temperature in this box is then warm enough to raise our sourdough. This will last now for around 24 hours. It could be the case that it takes also longer, so maybe 36 hours, because we have now to wait until the dough doubled. So this is the reason why we use this gummi as well, because now we want to see when is our sourdough doubled. And this shouldn't take longer than 36 hours. But if it would take longer, for example, we stop at 36 hours and then we go ahead with the second step. My dough has now doubled. It took really longer than 24 hours. It took for me 30 hours. This is all what I said already yesterday. It could be the case that it takes longer, but it shouldn't take longer than 36 hours. Well, it could be the case that it takes also longer than 36 hours, but after 36 hours we stop and we go on with the step I tell you right now. The step now is we have to feed our dough. The dough is fed with flour, and this is exactly what we use today as well. The same flour like yesterday. We use Rye wholemeal flour. 100 grams. We take 100 grams of this dough and put it into the bowl, and 100 grams of warm water. The rest, the other 100 grams of dough which remain in the glass, needs to be thrown away. We have to get rid of it, unfortunately. Normally I want to throw some food away, but in this case we have to throw it away. It's impossible to use it anymore for something else. You might think, why has he not taken only 25 or only 50 grams? Yes, of course, it would be also possible to use that small amount of flour, but in a smaller amount of flour there are also less microorganisms and less wild yeast, and this is the reason why we take more. So I would recommend, and it is recommended, to use minimum 100 grams of flour due to the amount of wild yeast and microorganisms we have in this amount, because this is what we require to grow our sourdough. So as I said, here I have now 100 grams of the dough we created yesterday, 100 grams of Rye wholemeal flour, and 100 grams of warm water. I mixed everything up already, you can see it here. I emptied the glass, so it's not required and not necessary to wash the glass. It's also okay even if you clean the glass with a spatula or something like this. This is absolutely okay. And now we fill the dough again into the glass. I filled it into the glass, and now it's again required to mark the top side of the dough with this gummi, simply to see when it doubles again. We close the cap or the lid. We don't close it totally, so it's required that that's possible that air comes into the glass, and then we place it again at a warm location. It's not 100% necessary that the glass is now at a warm location, but it is recommended because this is better for the good microorganisms and for the good wild yeast. We wait again until it doubled. It will take again round about 24 hours, and then we can proceed with the next step. In the meanwhile, we are at day 3 for the creation of our sourdough or Lievito Madre. As you can see in my glass, the dough has perfectly doubled, even a bit more than double. The doubling was already happening after 20 hours, so the time for the doubling will be always shorter and shorter and shorter. And now, we do exactly, or not exactly, but almost the same like yesterday. We take 100 grams of this dough. The rest, we have to get rid of the rest, unfortunately. When we have a ready prepared sourdough, it's not necessary anymore to throw anything away. We have to use it. But during we make our sourdough, it's required that we throw it away. Yeah, as I said, we take 100 grams of this old dough, and then we take 100 grams of flour. And now it's time to decide with which kind of flour we want to proceed. Do we want to have a rye sourdough? Then we use rye flour. Do we want to use spelt sourdough? Then we use spelt flour. Or we want to have wheat? Then we take wheat flour. In our case now, to have Lievito Madre, and for me, I take now wheat flour to refresh the dough. And it's also time to decide now, do we want to have a liquid sourdough, or do we want to have the more strong and more solid Lievito Madre? The Lievito Madre, as you might know, is the Italian version of the sourdough, and we go now into the direction of the Lievito Madre. If we want to have the normal liquid sourdough, then we take 100 grams of water, and in our case we take 50 or 60 grams of water. I like and I prefer 60 grams of water, and this is exactly what we mix now together. Now I mixed up everything in my bowl, and you will see the dough is always not that dark anymore. It gets lighter and lighter. The more often you do the refreshing of the dough, it will lose its dark color. It does not hurt that there is the rye wheat, the rye flour in this dough. It doesn't matter. It will be more light from time to time the longer you refresh it, and at some point all the rye will be out of the dough. Now we take this one and put it again into the glass. Now in the glass we mark the top of the dough again with the gummi. We close the lid again, not air protected, but we close it to protect it from drying out. And then we place the glass at a warm location. Well, it's better to have it on a warm location. It's not absolutely required. Room temperature is also fantastic. And then we wait until the dough is doubled. As soon as the dough is doubled, we do again the refresh, in the same way like we did it now, with 100 grams of the dough, 100 grams wheat flour, and 50 or 60 grams lukewarm water. And then we do this procedure again and again and again until the dough doubles within 3 hours. In the meanwhile, I did 2 more refreshes, which means one refresh was after 20 hours, and this refresh now happened, or now the doubling happened really after 2.5 hours. So This Lievito Madre is now ready to use. It's not anymore required to throw anything from this away. We can use it from now on, and we only have to refresh it from time to time. If I say we have to refresh it from time to time, I mean we have to refresh it minimum once a week. So we always use the same amount of Lievito Madre, the same amount of flour, plus 60% of water. So always 60% of the amount of flour. So like we had now 100 grams of flour and 60 grams of water, which is 60%. As I said, we can use the Lievito Madre for baking bread, we can use it for baking rolls, we can use it for baking pizza. And the positive thing with Lievito Madre is we can use it also for sweet things we want to bake. So like panettone, for example, or any cakes or whatever is baked with yeast, or you can put it also in a normal cake. This will also work. It will improve our aroma. After we refreshed our Lievito Madre, it's important to locate or to place the Lievito Madre in the fridge. So it needs to be stored in the fridge. I would recommend, if you refresh your Lievito Madre, then don't wait until it's doubled. Only let it raise for 1 hour at room temperature and then put it into the fridge. The reason for this is the flour is the food. If we wait until the Lievito Madre is doubled, it could be the case that all the fresh food what we provided is already used, and then it could be critical to have it 1 week in the fridge. If you want to use it directly, then of course let it raise until it's doubled and then you can use it. Otherwise, as I said, if you only want to refresh it without using it, simply refresh it, let it raise for 1 hour and then place it in the fridge. If you have any questions for the refreshing or for using of the Lievito Madre, don't hesitate to ask me in the comments. I will try to answer all your questions. And if you like my video, I would be happy if you would subscribe my channel, and then we see us in the next video. Ciao!